Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to tackle some huge questions, like why do some protests just fizzle out while others explode into full-blown revolutions? Or why do some countries seem to have it all figured out while others, well, they struggle? I mean, these aren't just academic questions, right? They're the real-deal puzzles that shape the world we live in, affecting billions of people. So how do we even begin to answer them? Well, it turns out there's a science to it, and that's what we're diving into today.
You see, the first big step is understanding that none of this stuff happens by accident. It's not just random chaos. Nope, there's a whole field of study that's all about finding the patterns and the logic hidden just beneath the surface of the news.
And that tool, that framework for making sense of it all, it's called comparative politics. Think of it as a special lens within political science that lets us understand the world not just from the outside, but from the inside out.
Okay, so what is this thing really? What exactly is comparative politics? Let's get into it. So, at its heart, it's all about using real, hard evidence. We're talking data, observations, what's actually happening on the ground. It's not about just sitting around and philosophizing. It's about systematically studying the politics inside a country to figure out what makes it tick.
And here's a really important distinction. This isn't the same as comparative government. That's a bit more old school. See, comparing governments is often just about the what, like what does their constitution say? But comparative politics, it's all about the why. It looks at the whole picture, protests, political parties, how people vote, to understand the entire system in motion.
And don't get it mixed up with international relations either. IR is all about how countries deal with each other. You know, things like trade agreements, alliances, or even war. Comparative politics flips that around. It zooms in and looks inside a country to understand the internal dramas and power struggles that really define it.
Now, you might think this is some newfangled idea, but it's not at all. People have been comparing political systems for ages. The cool part is seeing how it's evolved from just, philosophical musings into a really rigorous scientific field.
Believe it or not, this goes way, way back, all the way to Aristotle, over 2,000 years ago. He was basically the original political data scientist. He didn't just guess. He went out and collected information on 158 different states to classify and compare how they were run. Incredible, right?
And from there, the field just kept evolving. You had Machiavelli using history to figure out the secrets of power. Then Montesquieu came along and said, hey, we need to look at society and the economy too. But the real game changer was after World War II. That's when the behavioral revolution hit, bringing in serious scientific methods and, this is huge, finally looking beyond the West to study the entire world.
Okay, so that's the history, but how do people actually do this stuff today? What's in the comparativist toolkit? Let's take a look. Well, it's a pretty clear three-step process. First, you have to go deep. You start by really understanding individual countries inside and out. Then you figure out a solid, rigorous way to compare them. And finally, you use all that data to build and test theories, the kind that don't just explain what happened, but might even help predict what's coming next.
So, what does this toolkit let you do? 3 really powerful things. First, you can classify things, put them in buckets, like different kinds of democracies. Second, you can explain why things happen, like what really causes a revolution. And third, you can even start to predict outcomes. For instance, you could analyze how a single new law might totally change the political game in a country.
Now, I know this might all sound a bit academic, but trust me, it's incredibly relevant to the real world. This is how we make sense of the massive changes happening all around us every single day.
Just think about this for a second. In the early 1800s, politics was basically an elite club. In some places in the West, maybe only 10% of adults could even vote. Now, jump forward to the late 20th century, and that number shoots up to over 75%. That's a seismic shift. And it didn't just happen by magic. Comparative politics gives us the tools to understand exactly what forces were at play to make that happen.
And this, right here, is why it all matters so much. When we look at other countries and compare them to our own, we get this incredible clarity. It's like holding up a mirror. Suddenly, you can see your own system's weird quirks, its strengths, and its weaknesses. Honestly, without that comparison, we're just flying blind.
So, if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's that comparison isn't just for academics in ivory towers. It's a powerful mirror that helps every single one of us see our own world more clearly. It makes us ask the hard questions and challenges the things we just assume are normal. And sometimes, What you learn by looking at someone else's world is the most important thing you can learn about your own.